In the shadowed heart of 18th-century Romania, where the Carpathian Mountains loomed like jagged teeth against the sky, a legend was born, not of a hero but of a creature who walked the thin line between man and monster. His name was Elias Varnholt, once a nobleman of modest renown, now a vampire cursed to roam the earth for eternity. This is his story, a tapestry of blood, longing, and the relentless pursuit of redemption. The Fall of Elias. Elias Varnholt was born in 1723 to a family of minor aristocrats in the village of Brasov. He was a man of intellect and charm, with piercing green eyes and a smile that could disarm even the sternest of foes. His life was one of privilege, though not excess, and he spent his days studying philosophy and his nights courting the daughters of neighboring lords. But fate, as it often does, had other plans. In the winter of 1745, a stranger arrived in Brasov, a woman cloaked in black, her face obscured by a veil of lace. She called herself Countess Livia Draculesti, claiming lineage to the infamous Vlad Tepes. Townsfolk whispered of her unnatural beauty and the way the air seemed to grow cold in her presence. Elias, ever the curious scholar, sought her out, drawn by tales of her wisdom and the promise of forbidden knowledge. Their meeting took place in the crumbling ruins of an old chapel on the outskirts of the village. Livia greeted him with a voice like velvet, her eyes glinting crimson beneath her veil. She spoke of life beyond death, of power that could defy time itself. Elias, enthralled, pressed her for more, unaware that each word drew him closer to damnation. That night, under a blood-red moon, Livia sank her fangs into his neck, draining him to the edge of death before forcing her own blood down his throat. When he awoke, the world was sharper, darker, and his heart no longer beat. First century. Elias's transformation was both a gift and a curse. He possessed strength beyond mortal limits, senses that could hear a heartbeat a mile away, and an unquenchable thirst for blood. First, he resisted, hiding in the forests and feeding on deer and wolves, desperate to cling to his humanity. But the hunger grew, a beast within him that clawed at his soul until he could bear it no more. One stormy night, he stumbled into a shepherd's hut and in a frenzy drained the man dry. The guilt that followed was a weight heavier than any he had known in life. Livia found him soon after, her laughter echoing through the trees. She became his mentor, teaching him the ways of the vampire, how to hunt, how to seduce, how to erase memories from those who glimpse the truth. Together they carved a path of terror through Eastern Europe, a pair of shadows that left villages whispering of demons. Yet Elias could not fully embrace the darkness. Where Livia reveled in cruelty, he mourned each life he took, haunted by the faces of his victims. Their partnership ended in 1790, when Elias refused to slaughter an entire convent of nuns Livia had targeted for their purity. In a rage, she drove a silver dagger through his chest, not enough to kill him, for only decapitation or sunlight could end a vampire's existence, but enough to leave him writhing in agony as she abandoned him. When he recovered, he vowed to walk his "This is a brand new feature XAI is testing, unrelated to the Grok 3 launch." He was alone. The Wanderer. For the next century, Elias wandered the world, a solitary figure draped in a long coat, his face shadowed by a wide-brimmed hat. He traveled from the fog-laden streets of London to the sun-scorched deserts of Egypt, seeking answers to the curse that bound him. He studied ancient texts, consulted mystics, and even tracked down other vampires, hoping to find a way to end his existence or reclaim his soul. But the answers eluded him, and the years stretched into decades. In 1873, he arrived in Paris, a city alive with art and decadence. There, he met Isabelle Moreau, a painter with hair like spun gold and eyes that saw through his carefully constructed facade. She was dying of consumption, her frail body a stark contrast to her fiery spirit. Against his better judgment, Elias fell in love with her, drawn to the warmth she exuded even as death loomed. For the first time in over a century, he felt something akin to hope. Isabelle, sensing his secret, begged him to turn her, to grant her immortality so they could be together forever. Elias hesitated, torn between his love for her and the knowledge of the torment she would endure. In the end, her pleas won out and he bit her, praying he had not damned her as he had been damned. When she awoke as a vampire, her beauty was magnified, but so too was her thirst. Unlike Elias, Isabel embraced her new nature with a wild abandon, hunting with a ferocity that both awed and horrified him. Their love, once tender, became a tempest. Isabel grew restless, craving power and chaos, while Elias clung to his restraint. In 1899, she betrayed him, allying with a coven of vampires who sought to dominate humanity. During a confrontation in the catacombs beneath Paris, she nearly succeeded in destroying him, staking him with wood and leaving him to rot. But Elias survived, his will unbroken, and fled to the New World, vowing never to love again. The modern age. By the 21st century, Elias had settled in New Orleans, a city where the supernatural thrived beneath a veneer of jazz and revelry. He lived quietly, feeding only when necessary and avoiding the attention of the growing vampire underworld. The world had changed. Technology illuminated the night, and humanity's capacity for both creation and destruction rivaled that of any immortal. Yet Elias remained unchanged, a relic of a bygone era, his green eyes still searching for meaning. It was there, in 2025, that he met Amara Jones, a historian researching vampire folklore. She was sharp-witted and fearless, her dark skin glowing under the Louisiana sun, her curiosity a mirror of his own from centuries past. She stumbled upon an old journal Elias had written in the 1800s, its pages filled with cryptic musings on redemption. Intrigued, she tracked him down, confronting him in a dimly lit bar on Bourbon Street. First, Elias resisted her questions, deflecting with charm and half-truths. But Amara was relentless, piecing together his story with a precision that unnerved him. She spoke of a prophecy she'd uncovered in her research, a tale of a crimson wanderer who would break the curse of vampirism by sacrificing his own immortality for another. Elias scoffed, dismissing it as myth, but her words planted a seed of doubt. Could there be a way out after all? Their partnership deepened as they hunted for clues, traveling to ancient sites and deciphering forgotten lore. Amara's presence stirred something in Elias he thought long dead. Hope, yes, but also fear. He saw Isabel in her boldness, Livia in her determination, and he wondered if history was doomed to repeat itself. Yet Amara was different. She sought not power but truth, and her compassion tempered her ambition. The final choice. Their quest led them back to Romania, to the very chapel where Elias's nightmare began. Beneath its crumbling altar, they found a hidden crypt, its walls etched with symbols older than Christianity. At its center lay a chalice, said to contain the blood of the first vampire, a relic that could undo the curse, but only if a vampire willingly gave their life to restore another's. Amara revealed her own secret then. She was dying, her body ravaged by a rare disease modern medicine couldn't cure. She hadn't told Elias, fearing he'd see her as another Isabel, pleading for immortality. But now, with the chalice before them, she asked him not to save her but to free himself, to end the curse for all vampires by sacrificing his own existence. Elias stood at the precipice of eternity, torn between the redemption he'd sought for centuries and the love he'd found in Amara. To save her, he could drink from the chalice and turn her, damning her to his fate. To free himself and countless others, he would have to die, leaving her to face her mortality alone. The weight of the choice crushed him, each path a mirror of his past failures. In the end, he chose Amara, not to turn her but to save her. He drank from the chalice, offering his blood to heal her disease, knowing it would unravel his own existence. As his body began to crumble to ash, he smiled, his green eyes meeting hers one last time. "Live," he whispered, and then he was gone, a crimson veil dissipating into the dawn. Prologue. Amara survived, her illness cured, though she carried the weight of Elias's sacrifice until her final days. She wrote his story, publishing it as fiction, though some whispered it was true. The vampire underworld faded, their curse broken, though few knew why. And in the Carpathian Mountains where it all began, the wind still carries the echo of a nobleman's laughter, a reminder that even in darkness, light can be found.